Cosmic Collisions is an old 1.9 level that I think about quite regularly, and I think part of the reason for this is the way it ends. The level itself is a very fun romp, with the central focus on its visual effects, while the gameplay takes more of a backseat, spread a little more thinly than usual, plenty of breathing room between jumps, allowing you to properly take in the spectacle and atmosphere of the level. It's a style of gameplay that isn't super common because it's more suited to long levels, and even then, most XL levels don't play like this. It's why the ending of Cosmic Collision stands out to me though, because despite being nearly 3 minutes long, it still feels too short by the time you're done with it. Yakine, the level's creator, even says in their video description that it was meant to be longer, but they literally just ran out of editor space. And that's what I want to discuss today. What the right length for a level is, and how to end it in a way that's satisfying and memorable. A strong conclusion to your level does a lot to cap off the player's experience, after all. Ideally, you want to leave a strong impression on the player as they experience the last few moments they're playing your level, because it's likely the moment they will remember most vividly when they think back on it. The commonly expected length of a standard Geometry Dash level is between 1 and 2 minutes. It's common for creators to make levels within this range. All of RobTop's main levels fall inside of this range, and it's even helpfully denoted with the long tag in the game's menu. Making levels between 1 and 2 minutes is very standard practice. There's no concrete rules about this, and Lord knows there's exceptions, but it's generally understood that your level needs to be at least this length to have a good chance to get rated. And as a baseline, it undeniably works. Despite that fact, what the right length for a level is still a very complicated question that doesn't really have a single correct answer to it. It depends on the kind of level you're making. It depends on song choice, gameplay style, and the overall mood and theming of the level. As I mentioned before, Cosmic Collisions feels too short despite being 3 minutes long, but there are levels that are 1/6 that length that feel just right. I think a good baseline example in this discussion is Effort, because it's very easy to see the problems with the way this level ends. As far as I'm concerned, the problem isn't really the song choice or the style of gameplay or anything like that. I think Effort's 50-second runtime is a perfectly reasonable length for a level that plays like this. The problem is that it doesn't end on a satisfying note. And I mean that quite literally. The level ends incredibly abruptly, while the song just keeps going. It feels like the action should be continuing and you're just being left behind by the level's end. There's a small break in the song about 10 seconds later, which could have served as a much better cutoff point. Just to point out the obvious here, but Summer Breeze is such a beautiful song. Anyway, I think this is pretty intuitive, and most creators seem to try their best to end their levels at an appropriate break in the song. Sometimes that does result in people ending the level right when the drop of the song is about to hit, which admittedly can work as a celebratory send-off, but often results in the same awkwardness as Effort. Geometry Dash World infamously has some levels that do this, to the disappointment of the community. In fact, all of the World levels were heavily criticized for simply being too short. Right when the levels were building up some momentum and gearing up for a climax, they were already over. However, that doesn't mean that the level under 30 seconds can't work. Tower Descent is a very short but very punchy level that wastes no time getting straight to the point, and I think that's the crucial difference. There simply isn't the time to waste on a build-up and payoff structure, so the level immediately hits you with a strong, flashy opening and gets right to it, maintaining that energy all the way through. The way the level ends also reflects the way the level begins, which still gives it a very defined structure. That's how, despite its short runtime, it still manages to feel like a full and complete experience. Maybe this is a take too hot for YouTube, but I think a lot of challenge levels can fall into this category as well. Think of VSC, for example. On the other end of the spectrum, ever since I beat Light Travel, I've developed a much deeper appreciation for levels that make an effort to push their runtime and allow you to soak in the atmosphere of the level and just vibe with it for a good while. Lonely Travel, Dem Travel, Light Travel, but also levels that don't have travel in their name like Well Rested, City Fade, and Future Funk really excel at this. Long levels like this have the opportunity to create truly magical slow-burning build-ups and incredible payoffs that are irreplicable in levels of standard length. Getting far in such a level just hits different in a way I truly love from the bottom of my heart. Speaking of Future Funk, by the way that level ends is kind of controversial, isn't it? So much so that it was even nerfed at some point. It isn't all that uncommon for creators to pull a stunt like this though, to put one final little jump at the very end of the level that's so tricky and easy to mess up that it haunts the entire level. Whether that's a final triple, or a set of awkward closing jumps, or tight timings, or your visibility simply being limited, there seems to be a certain sadistic streak in creators to add gameplay like this at the very end of their levels. But why do this? Especially in really long levels, creating intentionally frustrating gameplay at the very end of your level is, well, it's frustrating, right? As fun as it is to see people die at 99% and subsequently flip out, is it really worth it if they like your level less as a result?
Yeah, no! Dude, I thought I had it! No, dude! Ugh.
Yes. Let's not mince words here. Someone dying at 99% of a level is inherently kind of entertaining. There's a reason people's epic 99% fails are so well remembered in this community, to the point that there's some people's entire legacy.
No! 98!
It goes beyond just surface level entertainment though. I think the frustration you feel in the moment can easily be outweighed by the benefits of designing the end of your level like this. As fun as it is to indulge in people's crash outs, there is genuine heartbreak there.
No.
That's drama. It opens the road towards redemption. It creates an adversarial relationship between the player and the level, and maybe even the creator, and sets the stage for a compelling story about their journey to conquer the level once and for all. And I think there's catharsis to be had there, which is only amplified if the ending was maliciously engineered to result in your death to begin with. It commands respect for the level in an undeniable way, because the ending will loom over the entire level, filling the player with dread and anticipation, which makes for such an impactful payoff when it's finally defeated. It teaches you not to take your success for granted until you actually achieve it, and it rewards patience and persistence, which are good traits to have when you're playing a game like Geometry Dash. Don't celebrate too early. Keep your cool. Frustration feels bad in the moment, but I don't think your victory should always be handed to you on a silver platter in this game, even if that does seem to be the prevailing mindset when it comes to level design these days. People get upset over levels being unsight readable, and in response, creators build levels with cookie-cutter gameplay littered with jump indicators telling you exactly when to press the button, so you only have to engage with the level as little as possible. Far be it for me to judge how others engage with this game, but I just don't have any respect for this attitude. Anyway, I think I kind of went on a tangent there. I'm not saying that this kind of malicious ending is always the right choice, by the way. There's other ways of ensuring the ending of your level sticks in the mind of the player. We talked about ending the level at a satisfying break in the song, but you can really take this a step further and harness music sync to make for a memorable ending. In Theory of Everything, for example, you hit the end wall right as the mystery piano starts playing, to make for a very definitive and impactful finale. Mission 01 by The Devon takes it a step further by syncing the descending tone of the song with this downward ramp. Then, when it ramps back up, it's synced with your icon flying towards the wall, culminating in a very satisfying ending. Every little movement is accounted for here, and I really love that. Clutterfunk does this too with its staircase. Just a classic, unforgettable ending. Some other examples include Falling Up, as well as Citadel, highlighting the possibility in 2.2 to cut out the little animation where you fly towards the end wall. You don't even need the wall anymore, which should make this sort of thing a lot easier. Still, the popularization of end screens means that it's sometimes a forgotten art. End screens can be cool sometimes, Belloc comes to mind specifically, but I feel like it's kind of an overplayed trope in our community, especially when they really begin to overstay their welcome. Idols, Cromulent, Sonic Wave Infinity, Apocalyptic Trilogy. All of these levels have end screens or credits sequences that run for like half a minute, which is just way too fucking long in the context of a Geometry Dash level. Although I guess the reason these levels have credit sequences like this is because they're meant to feel more like a cinematic experience and less like a Geometry Dash level to begin with. The best way to instill awe and wonder in the player as your level ends is through gameplay, visuals, and music working in tandem with each other. An end screen can never do this. That's why end screens don't really stick in my memory, but the ending to Death Moon is an experience I will never forget. The entire level is a climactic and epic journey, and it's so beautifully capped off with a high energy, celebratory victory lap at the end. This section of free flying, where nothing stands in your way, after making your way through such an intensely thrilling and beautiful experience, feels incredibly liberating. It is the perfect conclusion to this level. The ending to Cataclysm occupies a similar design space, except instead of a raucous victory lap, it's a more heartfelt acknowledgement of your accomplishment. A simple GG does the trick for most levels, but it's so common that it can feel a little obligatory, like a please and thank you. It's polite pleasantries. It's appreciated, of course, but it doesn't hit nearly as hard as you need to rest, because Cataclysm knows how difficult it is. Remember, at the time this came out, it was widely considered to be the hardest level in the game, so it has the affect of the hardest level in the game, taking its difficulty extremely seriously and properly rewarding you for enduring it. Cataclysm knows you practiced hard to get here, spending dozens or even hundreds of hours playing the level and slowly improving on it. When you finally emerge triumphant on the other side, it gently puts its hand on your shoulder, cracking a faint smile. You need to rest, it says, with a hint of exasperation. The level is incredulous at your achievement, but more than that, it's proud of you. I am essentially just writing Geometry Dash fanfiction here. The update muddies it somewhat with the inclusion of this final straight fly and the end screen, but the original Cataclysm will always be a remembered classic in this community, and the way it ends so reassuringly is definitely one of the reasons why. This line just goes kinda hard. On the flip side, 9 Circles hits you with a finale that is incredibly tense. The stakes are high here, and mistakes are easy to make. The jumps are kind of awkward, and there are some fake walls you have to keep in mind, all designed with the express purpose of making you lose your cool as you try to balance this tightrope. It's not the most difficult part of the level, but in a challenging level like this, it culminates into such a satisfying payoff when you pass it. Truly a masterclass in level design. I haven't played Limbo, but I imagine that it probably feels very similar, although adding the randomness element and making the player track the key while they wave spam makes it even more devious. I frankly have a hard time keeping up with the correct key as it is, just watching a video, so sparing some of your mental faculties on playing the game while this is going on feels like it requires superhuman perception abilities. You can tell by the way people react though when they do beat it.
Please.
Please!
At first, there's silence. The air is thick with anticipation. You can never be 100% certain you collected the correct key, after all. The level delivers this payoff beautifully, too. Your cube drops down, out of bounds of the level, floating in a limbo of uncertainty as you face your final judgment. And, if you did everything right, it will harmlessly slide on top of the spikes. Then an eruption of cheers always follows.
Yes! Yes! Lost the key, I'm gonna get 97. I lost the key. No. No. Oh! Oh my god! I lost it! It's purple. It's gotta be fucking purple. Oh my god, I'm gonna shit myself.
There's a reason this key shuffle ended up being such a massive meme in the community. This is genuinely a fantastically executed ending sequence. In a way, it's the evolved version of the ending to A Bizarre Phantasm. I used to not really like this ending, but funnily enough, a Crazy Man 50 video sparked new appreciation for this part in me. For those unaware, I'm not talking about Kermal. Crazy Man 50 is a parody channel that uploads altered version of Geometry Dash levels, like the Silva Gunner of Geometry Dash. Anyway, the reason reason I used to not like this part was because of my vendetta against memory gameplay, but I've since come to realize what it is exactly that bothers me so much about memory gameplay to begin with, and that is the trial and error aspect. I do not enjoy making random guesses and bashing my head against the wall in order to make progress. I don't think it's fun, and I don't think it's rewarding. Neither Limbo nor A Bizarre Phantasm rely on trial and error for their endings though. In both instances, you are given the proper combination up front and expected to remember it from there. I think once you've figured out the key combination in A Bizarre Phantasm and done it a few times, it'll probably stick in your mind pretty well, which does take some of the edge off this part. The lack of randomness kind of hurts it in retrospect. Limbo builds on it in an extremely compelling and nerve-wracking way. If you're not quite at the skill level to play Limbo though, hey, welcome to the club. The closest you'll probably get is Serpent's Wrath. By the way, cool drinking game for when you binge my channel. Take a shot every time I bring up Serpent's Wrath. The boss fight at the end uses randomized attack patterns that test your ability to adapt and your reaction speed, which are skills that Geometry Dash levels are usually unable to make use of. It makes for a very thrilling and tense final showdown, a fitting conclusion to this level. By the way, I mentioned in my boss fights video that 2.2 would make bosses like this a lot easier to make with the introduction of the random trigger, so where are they? Where are all the cool boss fights with randomized attack patterns? Don't tell me you've all been too busy making platformer levels instead. That totally is it, isn't it? Well, come on, guys. Get on it. You can't let this be unexplored territory forever. You have my blessing to make boss fight levels. Do you even realize how unlikely an opportunity that is? Anyway, in conclusion, when you're trying to determine when and how to end your level, you need to think about the mood of your level, the feelings you're aiming to instill in the player, and what a good way to resolve that journey is. For simpler levels, you can get away with relatively little effort and still make a strong impact, but if you're aiming higher, you might need to take some extra time to conceptualize your ending. Maybe this video can serve as a source of inspiration for you. And on that note, I think it's time for me to end this video. Before I go though, one more thing. It takes me a lot of time and effort to write and make these videos, and as much as I love making them, we still do be living in a society, so if you value my work and really want to go the extra mile and support me, you can do so on Patreon. Link in the description, as always. Speaking of, special shoutouts to my grandpa demons on Patreon, Belfry Clock, Crone44, Bafer, Sir Lethbridge Stewart, and Ultra Team. I truly appreciate your support, and thanks for watching, everybody. See you later.